Welcome to my channel. This month I am happy to be the guest designer for the Counterfeit Kit Challenge. And on the first of the month, I brought you my counterfeit scrapbook kit that I build, so be sure to watch that video. And this time I have for you the challenge called Forgery on the 4th. And what that means is we take inspiration from an existing product and we shop our stash and build our own mock product. And so here is my first of two forgeries for you today. I was inspired by the Scrap Rooms kit of these kind of school supplies with those owls and those apples. So my first project is focusing on those apples. I happen to have this tiny apple punch and I wanted to create my own wood veneer style embellishments, but out of paper. So I just take my little punch and I punch out 1,000,000 of these apples. Okay, that's a little exaggeration. I punch out maybe a dozen of these apples out of this wood grain paper, and then I'm going to punch out a bunch of the apples from just a solid tan sheet of paper. And that is going to give me lots and lots of pieces to stack up and glue together and create these faux wood veneers. When working with these tiny pieces, a couple things come in handy. I use the Ranger Matte Multi-Medium glue because it's a thicker glue, and I've added this fine tip applicator to it, and I will have links in the show notes. And I'm using this jewel picker, and all of these things help me maneuver all of these pieces around. And so I am just stacking up 3 layers of cardstock. And once there's a little dot of glue, I can use my fingernails to just kind of line everything up. And I top my stack off with that wood grain paper, and I continue on with all of my pieces until I have a bunch of these little faux wood veneer elements. So this was a quick one, and here is a look closer up at these final products, and you can see it's a pretty good forgery. Moving on to forgery number 2, I will replicate that owl pattern paper. So I did pull out a sheet of cardstock and did a little bit of test samples down there. I have this stamp set with a star on it that I built into my kit, so make sure you see that video. And this owl stamp set was also a part of my kit. And then I went back to my stash and pulled out another stamp set that has this graduation cap, since I needed that to top off my owl. Here are my color products that I'll be using. VersaFine pigment ink because it is waterproof. I've got 2 Tombow markers in blue and yellow. I've got 2 Gina K pads. I've got a yellow and kind of an orangey red, which is called lipstick. And I chose that color because it kind of matched the enamel dots in my kit. So to get started with this, we're just going to create a little grid to give me some areas to work with these stamps. And now it's not hard, but it does take a little bit of time. So I am going to speed you up a little bit faster here. And as you can see, I'm just making dots as I build my grid. And then I'm going to practice with my stamp, and I'm going to use that straight edge as a bit of a guide to help me get my stamping straight. Now you could just freehand this, but sometimes I get a little picky, and so I decided this would make me happier. And then here I am freehanding the graduation caps on top of the owls, and some of them do go a little bit wonky, but at this point in the project, I'm feeling relaxed enough to kind of let it go. And I'm just filling in the gaps with the stars, as in the sample paper. Now my scale is a lot bigger than the sample paper is, but that's okay. I'm just trying to get the general feel of the example, and I think I do a pretty good job here. And I just finish filling in a little bit of space with a final couple stamps, and then I turn to giving these owls a bit of color. Now I'm using this Tombow blender pen, and I'm just taking a palette. Now this could just be a simple sheet of plastic, but I have an actual hard palette here, and I'm picking up color with the blender pen. Now the reason I'm doing that is because I can get a lighter shade, and if I were to color those graduation caps in with just solid black, you'd lose some of the detail. So I am using the black marker and this blender pen to get a lighter shade, and that will help keep the detail on some of these caps. Now to clean your blender pen, you just kind of scribble off on a scratch piece of paper, and it's ready to go for your next color, which is what I do here. I pick up some yellow and I concentrate the color on the center of these owls' tummies, and then I kind of blend it outward so it becomes faded towards the edges. And then I move on to blue, and I do the same thing with the owl's little wings, and I add a tad of blue onto the tassel of the cap just to pick up that color a little bit more. And I clean my pen and I am done. So here is the finished product, which is a forgery of that original owl pattern paper from the sample kit. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you found these forgeries fun, and if you need more information about Counterfeit Kit, their links are in my show notes, as well as links to products I used. See you next time. Before we go, this is who came and joined me in the middle of my project, and he laid right down as I was getting ready to watercolor. Sometimes I love my kitty, but sometimes he's a little bit of a pain. I really appreciate you watching. If you got something helpful out of this video, please do give it a like. That helps my channel. And if you want to catch my future videos, please subscribe.